friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. So I wanted to do a VR today to a really awesome YouTuber, Casper from BoyDiviner. He did a video on 5 decks that intimidate me, and I loved this idea for a tag. So the first deck that intimidates me is one that probably a lot of people would say intimidates them, and that is the Spirit Keepers Tarot. So I have the Vitruvian Edition. I actually originally bought the first edition, and I actually sold that deck because it intimidated me that much. I just opened that deck up and looked at it for the first time and was like, oh my gosh, this feels too esoteric for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to connect to this. And it just felt like something that I didn't need and should give to somebody else who really, really wanted it. Because at that point, there were a ton of people out there who desperately wanted copies of the first edition. And I don't know, I just felt weird about keeping it when I knew that there were people who would probably be able to connect to it more than me. But then Benabel came out with the Vitruvian Edition, and I know she said that her intention with the Vitruvian Edition was to make it feel a little bit more accessible and a little less esoteric. I don't even know why it does feel that way, but something about it does feel that way. Like, clearly her intention manifested, because it honestly does feel less intimidating to me, although it still feels quite a bit intimidating. But I don't know, something about the fact that it's sepia toned, it just feels warmer. And so I did go ahead and buy the Vitruvian Edition, and this one I hung on to, but I haven't really worked with it that much yet because, again, you know, I sort of feel like I need to introduce myself to it in some way, and sort of, you know, form a bond and a relationship with it. So there is actually another tag that I'm going to do featuring this deck that I think will help me kind of form that initial kind of getting to know you sort of bond. I think it's unbelievably beautiful, and I think that, you know, her, again, intentions in making this were so so amazing, and it comes through so clearly in what she created. So I'm really, really excited about this one. I'm so happy that I have it, but I feel like it's gonna take a little bit of work for me to fully connect to, and but I am excited about connecting to it. I think it's wonderful. And yeah, again, I don't know why the Vitruvian Edition felt more accessible to me than the first edition, and because in most cases it's the exact same artwork. Some of the cards are changed, but most of them are the same, but there's something about the warmer color, and again, clearly, you know, that's what her intention was in creating this edition, and it honestly worked. So I feel a lot less freaked out by this one, but still that little bit intimidated, let's be real. So another deck that I feel intimidated by is one that I backed on Kickstarter and that I received a short while ago at the same time that everybody else received it, and that is the Botanical deck by Jessica Bott. I think this deck is stunningly beautiful. I was really excited about it. I really backed it more than anything because it was a deck by Jessica Bott. I have her Amethyst Oracle, which I really enjoy. I also am kind of obsessed with the Idiosynchro deck, and I wish I could have it, and I know I probably never will, and I'm trying to make my peace with that, but you know, so I did want to go ahead and back this one, even though I kind of knew that there would be a process where I'd need to get to know it and I'd need to get to understand it a little bit better, because there are some herbal correspondences that I understand, but this deck is massive. There's like over 100 cards in this deck. It's not just a tarot, it has multiple other suits to serve also as sort of an oracle, so there's so much going on in this deck. So all of the majors are trees, but there's multiple other suits. Some of them are tarot suits, some of them are just other additional extra suits. The deck is gigantic, and there's so much to learn here and so much to absorb, and I'm really excited about getting to know it, but it does feel a bit intimidating to learn about all of these different plants so that I really feel like I have a strong understanding of what all of the individual cards mean. But I'm so excited I have it. Like, I think it's absolutely lovely. I mean, it's just a really, I love her kind of vector graphic style of artwork. I think it's really cool. and I'm super happy to have it. But I know that there's going to be a point in time when I'm going to want to spend time really learning and connecting to this deck. And I'm kind of thinking that's probably going to happen in the spring, because in the spring is when I really feel like I want to start thinking about plants and connecting with plants. It's really hard in the winter in Minnesota to be thinking about plants, because there's just it's just barren and snow, and you know, I don't really spend a lot of time really feeling plant energy during the winter around here. So anyway, but I think this is beautiful. I am just a little intimidated by it. I'm really looking forward to getting to know it. So the next deck I feel a bit intimidated by is a deck that I got knowing that there would need to be a lot of study required with it, and that I was going to want to take that study really, really slow. And that is the Dark Goddess Tarot. Which I bought when I discovered that it was going out of print, because it was one of those ones where it was like, okay, it's going out of print. I know I don't have a ton of time now to really delve fully into it, but I'm going to go ahead and buy it so that I have that copy in the future for when I really want to start getting to know this one. So I've really been taking this one slow in terms of a relationship. I'm still working my way through reading the guidebook, because it's one of those guidebooks where you want to sit with each of the goddesses for a little bit, you know, before you like move on to the next one, just so you can really fully absorb the messages. And the guidebook, by the way, is in the app. I have the Dark Goddess app on my phone. And so it's just one of those things where, like, before I go to bed at night, not every night, just some nights, I'll pull up the guidebook and I'll read one of the entries for one of the goddesses, and I'm just sort of slowly reading through it in order and trying to really absorb that information into my mind, and just spend some time learning before I really start using this deck in any kind of you know, divinatory type of way. It's there's so much to understand here, and there's so much that I don't know, so it's going to be a long learning process, but I'm just sort of taking it slow and enjoying myself and enjoying kind of the process of learning about it. And so I know that it's going to be a slowly growing but long relationship with this deck, and I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm happy that I have a copy, and I'm happy to just sort of take it slow and get to know it in a very sort of measured way, where I really feel like I'm fully understanding each piece of information that comes in before I move on to trying to learn the next thing. So so yeah, it's a lovely deck, and I'm really, really loving this one. But yeah, it did feel a little intimidating at first, but I kind of knew that it was gonna take me some time to really fully delve into it. So the next deck that I feel a little bit intimidated by is the Arcana of Astrology deck. This is by Claire Goodchild at Black and the Moon. And I don't actually do a ton of work with astrology or know very much about it, to be perfectly honest. I bought this deck mostly because it's kind of a companion. It feels like a matching deck to the Compendium of Constellations Oracle, which I love. That one has really great keywords. It's really easy to use, and it's a lovely, lovely deck. This one, again, I've kind of bought them because I felt like they were a matching set, and I felt like I should have both of them, and I felt like this would be a learning tool for me in some ways in terms of learning astrology. But as a result of that, it does still leave me a little bit intimidated, because I don't feel like I have a full understanding of everything that's going on in this deck. And it doesn't come with a guidebook or anything like that. It comes with like one little fold out with just some very, very, very limited information. So there's a lot more to learn and understand here. And so as a result of that, it does feel a little bit intimidating, but it's a beautiful deck. I'm happy I have it, and I'm happy I can have it on hand for that learning process. But it's a learning process, again, that I know I'm gonna have to have at some point, because you know, this isn't stuff that I just know off the top of my head at this point. So I don't really use this deck to do readings right now. I just sort of have it. I plan to do some more work with it at some point, but you know, it's just one of those ones where, again, I felt like I should get the matching set, and I know at some point I'll do some more work with it, and in the meantime, I'm okay with having it. You know, I'm not a big one to keep decks that I know I won't use, but in this case, it's one that I'm pretty sure I will use at some point. I just haven't done much work with it yet. So final deck on my list of decks that I find a bit intimidating is the Ancient Italian Tarot. I don't have the box anymore. Here are the backs. I keep it in a tin now, actually. And so this deck is a deck that I got to learn Marseille style reading. And it's really, really beautiful, but it did actually just feel a little bit too formal at first. Like, I'm really happy I have it, but it did feel quite intimidating to me. And so I ended up getting, in addition, the Marshmallow Marseille, which is the one that I actually was, you know, spending most of my time learning on and using when I was working through some of that learning. And now that I've gotten to the point that I understand pips to an extent, I feel more comfortable with using this one, but it just did feel quite a bit more intimidating than the Marshmallow did. Like, the Marshmallow Marseille is so cute and the colors are so sweet, and it's just, it has this really lively feel, you know, it feels really alive, and it feels modern, you know, and it feels like it's bringing this style of reading into the modern day, even though the imagery is really, really traditional. This one just feels so traditional. I think this is a recreation of the Soprafino, and it's stunning. I mean, it's stunningly beautiful, and I love this artwork. This sort of engraving style artwork. I think this is early 19th century. But again, initially when I first got it, it felt just a little too intimidating to me, and I felt like I wanted to learn with a different deck. So at this stage, I own 3 pip decks. I own this one, I own the Marshmallow Marseille, and I just got the La Corte dei Tarocchi from Il Meneghello, which I absolutely love. And again, I'm not super good at reading with pips yet, but that one I just was like, oh my god, I have to have this sweet little deck. I don't even care if I never read with it. It was so cute. But again, yeah, this one, the first pip deck I ever got, and just a little bit too intimidating to me to really be my first learning deck for learning Marseille. Thanks again for watching, everybody. If you have intimidating decks that you'd like to talk about, I'd love to hear about them. And thanks so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.